Hello. For this practice, we'll be just needing a blanket if you have one handy. If you don't, that's okay too. We're going to try to do it without as well. I'm assuming some people might not have props that I have available to me, as well as you might be working in some studios in smaller groups that might not have an offering of props because of our current situation right now. So that's okay. We're going to sort of improv a little bit, but just a normal sort of throw blanket would be great if you do have it. If you have all the stuff at home, bring that into your practice. Bring your bolsters, your blocks, your pillows, your eye pillows, whatever you like. So let's begin. We're going to begin by lying on our backs. So let's take a moment to find ourselves comfortable in that shape. Make sure our props are out of the way so we have lots of room to stretch out. And if it feels nice to just lengthen out the legs and the arms, feel free to come into sort of a Shavasana or traditional Shavasana sort of shape. Maybe just closing the eyes and noticing how you feel right now in your body, how you feel in your mind, and just how the day is going so far for you. Maybe just noticing if we need to change anything about our current shape. So maybe our low back has been letting us know some things and chatting with us a little bit. So maybe bending the knees and walking the feet a little bit farther away. Letting those knees fall toward one another might feel like a nice little support for your low back. And even if your low back is not particularly a troubled spot, this might just be a nice thing to try. So just closing the eyes, maybe rocking the back of the head across the ground really slowly. Feeling every little millimeter of skin roll across. Feel a slight bit of pressure from the weight of the head. Breathing in and out through the nose. And just a gentle swipe from side to side. Take as much time as you like to, as much time as you need to. Maybe take more time than you're used to so that it's a little challenging to move slowly. Going with the natural rhythm of your breath and whatever is currently here with you right now. So maybe we feel a little bit tired, maybe we feel pretty energized, so maybe moving slowly is a little bit of a challenge on its own. But just going with the natural culture of our body. And bringing our noses to point back toward the sky, toward the ceiling. Let's bend our knees if they aren't already and walk the feet in just a comfortable amount. Bringing the heels underneath the knees. We'll reach the arms alongside the ears, just reaching those fingertips toward the crown of the head, toward the top of the head, alongside the ears. Press down a little bit through the feet. Reach a little more through those fingertips. Feel some space in that low, low belly. A little bit of space from the bottom of the rib cage to our pelvis, to our hip bones. Another inhale to reach. Then exhale, bring the arms down along our sides. We'll turn our palms downward and plant our palms down along our side body. And just go ahead and walk those fingertips toward the toes, just so we create a little more length in the base of the neck, a little more space between the ears and the shoulders. Walking those feet in a little bit more to feel nice and cozy into the glutes. Pressing into the feet, lifting the hips on your inhale, reaching the hips up toward the sky. Taking a nice big breath here, just enjoying that sensation of openness through the top of the body, pressing into the hands and the backs of the arms. If it feels better for you to interlace the fingers underneath and press into the fists, tuck the shoulders under, give yourself a little extra support here. Aiming our tailbone toward the knees, so really pressing in, lifting the hips, maybe even tucking the chin toward the chest a little bit more. And 2 more nice, good breaths here, flushing out the front of the body, opening up space in the belly. On your next exhale, releasing the hands underneath, letting the hips come back down toward the earth, untucking the shoulders, lift the arms over the head again, arms alongside the ears, reach the fingers toward the crown, press a little bit into the feet as you reach the rib cage away from those hips. And then exhale, draw the knees in toward the chest, just give yourself a little hug, maybe holding the shins or wrapping your arms around. It might feel nice to cup the hands and open the knees nice and wide, allowing lots of space for our belly and our pelvis and our hip flexors. You could also take yourself into a little bitty ball if that feels nice, bringing the chin or the nose toward the knees. Now on our next inhale, let's send our legs up toward the sky, relax the arms, maybe even bending the elbows and resting the hands above the head if that feels nice to have the open chest. If you'd like to have a cactus shape in your arms, just opening the arms on either side, bending the elbows, just flexing those heels, flexing our ankles, sending our heels up toward the sky, feeling a little bit of stretch through the backs of the legs, a little bit of activation in our abdominals. Lower abdominals working up a little bit higher and a little bit higher. In through the nose and out through the nose. Let's again sort of rock the head back and forth and just try to maintain a little bit of softness in the top of the body. And breathing in through the rib cage, so breathing all the way around the rib cage, the back, the sides, and the front. And exhale to tug the belly in toward yourself a little bit, maybe drawing the legs toward the torso, engaging a little bit more of those lower abdominals to kind of pick the legs up a little bit. Exhale, bending the knees, bringing the knees to chest. Give yourself a hug if that serves you, maybe a little movement if that feels nice for you. Setting our feet down with our knees bent, drawing our left knee in toward the chest. We'll interlace the fingers on the outside of the shin and just kind of hug that knee in toward yourself. If you'd rather bring the knee open toward the armpits, just kind of opening up the hip toward the side, if that feels just a little more accessible, feel free to take that shape. Just getting a nice good hip crease, intense hip crease, and a really good crease in the knee as well. You can feel free to flex that ankle if we'd like a little more action in the leg, or relax the leg depending on how we're feeling today. And if we have a strap available, then we can strap the ball of the foot, extend the leg up toward the sky. If we don't have a strap available, we could hold on to the big toe and lift the leg up, just extending the arm and trying our very best to bring the shoulder downward. If that's not quite accessible, we can also just hold the back of the leg or interlace the fingers of the back of the shin or the back of the back of the quad as well. Flexing through the ankle, pressing the leg up toward the sky, just feeling a nice good stretch in the back of the leg, however we need to feel it here. If we have our big toe held onto, just make sure to plug that shoulder down toward the ground so we have a little bit more of a magnetization with our shoulders toward the ground, focusing more on the leg than the arm. And then if it feels nice for you, starting to open up the leg toward the left side. If our arm isn't quite long enough, mine is definitely not quite long enough, we can just start to extend the leg out, bringing our right hand to our right hip just so we kind of keep it in check and make sure it stays aligned and stays plugged in toward the earth, rooted down. Just a couple more breaths here, opening the leg up as much as we like to, just making sure that our chest is faced toward the sky, our shoulders are plugged in toward the earth. We are pressing a little bit down with the right hand to just encourage the right hip downward. Inhale to reach that leg back up toward the sky, and exhale the knee toward the chest, interlace the fingers, give yourself a nice little hug here. And then bringing the knee toward the left armpit. If we didn't already do that, just sort of transferring it over to the left hand and just gently tugging that knee toward the armpit. Maybe bringing the right hand on top of the right hip again, just to kind of feel our body in space and notice where we are and what we're doing with our bodies. Transferring our left leg into the right hand, let's go ahead and cross the left leg over the right. So we're just crossing our thighs and then bringing both knees in toward the chest. So a little hug here, interlace the fingers toward the outside of the right shin, and just let your arms be heavy and let the knees fall toward the chest. In through the nose and out through the nose if you're able, if we're not too stuffed up today. Inhale through the top of the chest, exhale to tuck the belly in and maybe finding a little more of a hip crease in your left hip, maybe a little more in your right. And if we'd like to intensify this stretch just a little bit more, you can bring the right hand to the outer blade of the left foot and the left hand to the outer blade of the right foot. Just kind of allow them to come apart from one another and gently tug downward. You'll feel it here, so you'll know what's too much and what feels just right. We could tug them away and we can tug them down very slightly, just using the weight of the arms. No muscle control here in the arms, just using the weight. Taking 2 more or 3 more breaths here, going with the natural pace of your breath, natural discovery of your body. The permaculture of your body. Notice what's there already and how can we feed what's there and redirect any kind of waste or pollution in the body. Let's let go of the feet if we have held onto them. Release the legs down. We'll uncross the left leg and bring the knees into chest. Give yourself a little rock, a little squeeze. Inhale, bring the legs all the way up toward the sky, flexing through the ankle. And it's up to you what you'd like to do with the arms again. So maybe above the head, maybe a cactus shape, or opening those arms in a T shape. Just flexing through the ankles, engaging our lower abdominals, knowing where they are, a little bit more familiar now with them. Inhale through the upper chest. Try to relax the neck and the shoulders. Exhale, tug in toward the low belly. See if you can bring the legs a little closer to the torso. One more nice good breath here. Exhale the knees to the chest. Give yourself a little squeeze or open up the legs. And then we'll set the feet down with the knees bent, walking the feet a little closer toward our glutes. Interlace our fingers to the outside of the right shin this time, drawing the knee toward the chest. And it's up to you if you'd like to angle it toward the armpit or transfer it into the right hand. So just take a moment to see what feels right for you. Maybe drawing right toward the chest, or we can leave ourselves a little bit of room. You can also choose to activate by flexing through the heel or just letting the foot relax. So you can kind of choose your own adventure here. And just taking another breath or so here. If we've opened it up to the side, maybe placing the left hand on top of the left hip bone, just to feel ourselves in space. And then if we have that strap or a scarf or something handy and we need that extra length in the arm, we'll strap our ball of our foot. If we have our big toe, we just make sure as we straighten out the leg, we plug our shoulder downward. So make sure we bring that shoulder back down toward the earth. So focusing more on the length of the leg and less on the muscle of the arm. Maybe placing the left hand on the left hip, just noticing where we are, feeling it out. If that toe is not available, feel free to hold onto the ankle or the shin. Maybe both hands feel nice at the back of the calf muscle or the back of the quad, the thigh bone. Just take a moment, notice what works for you, what you'd like to change, what just needs to be changed due to length. Everybody's built very differently, and that's such a beautiful thing. And then if we'd like to open up the leg to the side, if we have the toe, we can bring the left hand to the top of the left hip and open up the leg, or we can hold the outside of the leg. We could strap the leg and just opening it up to the side to whoever feels most comfortable for you. Hopefully there's no wall in the way for you. And just opening it up, making sure we still have our chest exposed to the sky. Our shoulders are rooted down. And we are trying to plug the left hip downward as well. So finding that open right hip, open adductor, the inside of the leg, but also finding the left hip downward. So one more breath or so here, just till you feel balanced on each side. And then your next inhale, let's go ahead and bring that leg back up toward the sky. Taking a moment here. Wonderful. Bending through the knee. Let's go ahead and just bring that knee back in toward your chest. Transfer the knee into, or the shin into your right hand to open up the knee toward the armpit. So if we didn't do this before, just kind of transferring it over to the other side, placing the left hand on top of the left hip bone, bringing the knee in toward the armpit, the right knee toward the right armpit, so you can feel a really good hip crease here, really good bend and crease in our hip flexor, and a really good bend in our knee as well. Just taking a breath here. It's again up to you if you'd like to flex through the ankle or through the heel, or let the foot relax. So you can add a little bit of energy, or you can add a little bit of ease. Wonderful. Bringing the knee across, and we're going to go ahead and cross the right thigh over the left. So just take a moment here to notice how you're feeling in this shape. Notice how it feels. It's maybe already where you need it to be. Or bringing the knees toward the chest, interlacing the fingers in the outside of the left shin. And just again, letting the weight of the arms hold the legs in. So whatever happens, happens. Just notice and soften into the shape. You could tug slightly, but really just noticing those really big hip creases here and knee bends. Feeling those internal hip muscles relax and release. And if we've like a little bit more intensity here, just like we did on the other side, could bring our left hand to the outer blade of the right foot, our right hand to the outer blade of the left foot, and just gently tug those heels, the lower halves of the legs, away from one another, outward. While maybe drawing the knees toward the chest. So you get to decide. I'm sure you'll feel and notice what you need here. And just in through the nose, out through the nose. Enjoy whatever there is to enjoy here. Breathing through the rib cage all the way around. Exhale, tugging the low belly in, noticing maybe there's a little more space. And just a couple more breaths here. Feeling balanced on each side, so maybe it's less than a breath, maybe it's one extra breath. Just go ahead and scan that body culture, the natural rhythm. And then we'll release the legs, let the feet set down, we'll uncross those knees and draw the knees in toward the chest. Give yourself another little rock side to side, or kissing our big toes together, placing just the base or the heel of the hand on the knees and guiding them into circles. So opening up both hips at the same time. And then going in the other direction if that served you well. Just enjoying a little bit of massage on the low back, a little bit of greasing up of our joints in the hips. Beautiful. Let's cross those ankles and start to rock ourselves forward, or roll yourself over to your right side and press yourself up to a seated shape. So coming up into a seat, an easeful seat. So maybe that means cross-legged, maybe staggered knees. If it feels a little bit funny or we feel a little bit rounded in the low back, I invite you to take your little blanket if you've got one, or fold the mat behind you. You can also roll up your mat behind you. And just gonna set the edge of the blanket right under your tailbone. So all of a sudden we have, maybe our hips are a little bit more elevated. Maybe it feels as if our knees have fallen downward slightly, and we just have a little more space in our sit bones to sit. Maybe we can even find where those sit bones connect to the earth. Let's close the eyes and feel what it's like to be in a seated shape, growing up from our lying down position, relaxing the arms. Maybe the hands are in the lap or the palms are on the knees. Noticing what it's like to breathe all the way around the rib cage while we're seated. Feeling the back body, feeling a little more free through the sides and the back. Maybe even feeling ourselves grow a little bit taller, inhaling through all the way around the rib cage and exhaling, tugging the belly in toward yourself, scooping it in toward the bottom of the rib cage, and notice that support you have for the low back. Bringing our palms close to the hips, pointing our fingertips in, palms face down, just kind of snuggling the blade of the thumb in toward the hip bones. Starting to inhale to bring the shoulders up toward the bottom of the ears. Exhale to bring the shoulders back and down. Inhale to bring them forward and up. And exhale back and down. And take your time. Inhale forward and up, greasing up our shoulder joints. Exhale to bring it down and back. Inhale forward and up. Exhale down and back. Notice any little areas that feel a little bit crunchy, that feel just a little bit less smooth. And go a couple more times. Press down with your palms if you need to find that full control, that full rotation inside the shoulders. And then when we've settled those shoulders back down, we'll turn our palms facing up, bringing the outer blades of the pinky or the outer blades of the hands in toward the hips, pressing down through the tops of the hands. Let's go ahead and inhale, bring our shoulders back and down. And then exhale, bring them up toward the ears and forward. Inhale, back and down. Exhale, forward and up. Inhale, back and down. Back and up, forward and down. Inhale, back and up. Exhale, forward and down. A couple more times. Inhale, back and up, forward and down. One more time. Inhale, back and up, forward and down. Exhale. Let's release those hands, interlace our fingers here, and just draw some very loose figure eights with the hands in one direction. Just a really, really loose circling movement. And then in the other direction, just very, very, very loose. You'll interlace the fingers the other way, so bring your other pinky downward, so just reversing the shape of our circling, circle the other way. Couple times, nice and loose. Beauty. Next, inhale, reach the arms up toward the sky, kiss the palms together. Exhale, hands toward the center of the chest. Inhale, reach those arms up. And exhale, pivot the chest toward the right, opening up the arms to shoulder height. So not worrying too much if our right hand is pointed directly behind ourselves or the left hand is directly in front. Inhale through the rib cage, lifting, breathing, reaching. Exhale, scoop the belly in toward yourself and lower the hands down wherever they'll land. So the right hand is behind our spine, the left hand is in front. Press down with the fingertips and press the hands away from your body. So I'm pressing down with the right fingertip, or the left fingertips and pressing away. I'm pressing down with my right set of fingertips and pressing away. So we feel as if we could maybe, as we inhale through the upper chest, twist a little more. Exhale to scoop the belly in. Twist from the low belly. Inhale through the chest. And exhale to scoop in. And just a couple more times. Inhale. Maybe looking beyond your right shoulder. Exhale as you scoop in, twisting toward the right. Inhale. Exhale, scoop it in and look toward the right. Inhale, reach the arms up, bring the torso to face the front. Exhale, hands toward the center of the chest. One more sun breath. Inhale, reaching those arms up, and exhale, hands toward the chest. Inhale, reaching those arms up alongside the ears. As we exhale, pivoting the torso toward the left, opening the arms up to shoulder height. Not worrying too much about where our fingers are pointed, just opening up the chest toward the left. Inhale through the rib cage. Exhale, scoop the belly in, maybe twist a little bit more, look beyond the left shoulder if it's available. And then letting our fingertips touch down wherever they touch, wherever they reach. So the left hand behind our spine roughly, the right hand in front of our ankles. Press down with the fingertips and press them away from your body. Inhale through the rib cage all the way around. Exhale, tuck the belly in toward yourself. Maybe look a little more toward your left. A couple more breaths here, pressing down and away from yourself with those fingertips. Lifting up and feeling our side body, all the space between the ribs and the hips. Next, inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale as you pivot yourself toward the front, draw the palms down toward the center of the chest. Bringing our hands in front of our ankles, inhaling to bring the chest forward to reach the heart forward and start to walk the fingertips in front of you, just hinging from the hip creases. So maybe planting the palms down with long arms, feeling just the heart reach forward and a hinge through the hips. Walk as far forward as you're able to without rounding the spine too much. Maybe pressing down with the hands and pressing them away from you to lift the heart forward, to kind of tilt the tail backward. And just noticing the space that you may have already created in the body, inhaling through the chest. Exhaling, tucking the belly in toward yourself, maybe pulling the mat or pulling the ground toward you so that you can find and still maintain the length. Just 2 more breaths here. More focusing on lifting the heart forward. Walking our hands toward the left corner of the mat. Let's frame the left corner of the mat, bringing our palms shoulder width apart, and start to press the mat away from you, press the ground away from you if your hands are off the mat, and start to tuck the chin inward toward the chest. So finding a little bit of rounding through the upper back, a nice long stretch through the right side body. Tuck the chin in as much as you like to, as much as is available for you. Breathing in through the back body, in through the nose, and out through the nose. 2 more deep breaths here, in through the nose. Press the mat away from you, curl in toward yourself. Engage a little bit of your abdominals here too. Inhale, start to pull the ground toward you to bring yourself up, to look between those hands, and walk yourself over toward the right corner of the mat. So palms are shoulder width apart, walking them down as far as you're able to, as far as you were on the other side, pressing the ground away from you to curve the chin, to curl the upper back slightly, to stretch the left side waist, the left side ribs, the shoulder, and draw yourself in toward the chest, just as much as you're able to. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose, breathing through the back body as best as you're able. Swelling the breath between the shoulder blades, finding some stretch through the breath. And 1 more breath if it feels good for you, pressing away, curling in. And then inhale, start to pull the ground toward you to lift the heart forward, walking the hands back toward the center and then toward your heels. Wonderful. So walk forward over top of our ankles, coming into an all fours shape. So I'm just going to move my blanket aside, walk myself back here. And if you'd like a blanket underneath the knees, if it feels a little bit cozy to have it underneath the knees, if you're on a little bit of a hard surface, you can use the blanket again if you'd like to. Bringing the wrists under the shoulders, the knees under the hips. We'll tuck the toes just so we have some stability here. Inhale, press the ground away from you. And exhale just to lean forward as much as your wrists allow you to. And start to bend into through the elbows, sending the shoulders forward. And just allowing maybe the backs of our arms or our triceps to be in line with our rib cage, sending the shoulders forward. Inhale to press the ground away from you and draw yourself back almost to a child's pose. So our toes are tucked. We're just letting our hips sit back toward the heels, stretching out through the toes. Nice long arms here, so sort of like our seated forward fold. Let's do that again. Inhale, draw ourselves forward, leaning into the wrist just as much as feels comfortable or challenging for you in a good way. Bending the elbows when you need, sending the heart forward, bringing the triceps, the backs of the arms in line with the rib cage. And then as you inhale, press the ground away from you, send the hips back toward the heels with our toes tucked, and just press the ground away from you with those hands, stretching into the toes. Let's do that 3 more times. Inhale, coming forward, leaning as far as you're able to, bending the elbows, bringing the backs of the arms in line with the rib cage. Let the chest come down. Inhale to press up, and exhale to sink the hips back. So just a few more times at your own pace. Inhale, forward. Exhale to bend. Inhale, press up. And exhale, sink back. Inhale, come forward as far as you're able to. Exhale, bend through the elbows. Inhale, press away. And exhale, sink back. One more time. Inhale, come forward as far as you're able to. Exhale, bend through the elbows. Inhale, press up, and exhale, sink back. Untucking the toes, letting our hips sink all the way back toward the heels. Maybe the knees come together or the knees come apart, it's up to you. Stretching the arms out or giving yourself support underneath the forehead, coming into our child's pose shape. And just a few breaths here. Noticing what there is to notice. Most importantly, taking a bit of time to feel whatever there is to feel. In through the nose and out through the nose. And when we're feeling ready, let's come back up to an all fours shape. Bring those knees back under hips, tuck our toes, wrists under shoulders, and just pay attention to where the hips are, keeping them over top of the knees, starting to walk the hands forward, coming down on the forearms if that's available for you, or continuously walking those hands forward, allowing our hips to tilt upward, allowing our chin or forehead to touch the earth, to plant down, to root down, coming into our Anahatasana, our melting heart shape. Sending those tails up toward the sky. Pressing down with the knees and pulling the mat apart with the knees. See if you can create a little more space, a little more tilt. Allow that rib cage to sink. Press down with the hands and maybe pull the mat apart slightly with the hands as you're doing with the knees. Creating some space in the center line. One more breath. And as you inhale, start to walk the hands back toward yourself, back into that all fours shape. Looking between our thumbs, and just a gentle gaze between the thumbs. Inhaling to bring the right arm up toward the sky, toward the side of the body, and up. Lifting up toward the sky. Exhale, sweeping the right hand past the left wrist, coming onto the right shoulder, bending into the left elbow. Inhale to press into the left hand to reach the right arm up toward the sky. Let's watch that hand this time. Exhale to watch the right fingertips scoop past the left wrist and watch the right arm extend outward. 2 more times. Inhale to press into the left palm to reach the right arm up. Watch that right hand as it behaves, sweeping through, extending out. 1 more time. Inhale to reach the right arm up. Watch those tippy fingertips. And then exhale as you scoop past, coming onto the right shoulder. Take a moment here, maybe extending the left arm forward, planting into the palm. Maybe bringing the left arm up toward the sky or wrapping it around our thigh, kind of hooking it into the right thigh a little bit. Keeping equal balance in the knees. So what we want to do here is send the left hip backward and the right hip forward. So maybe we notice we're pressing a little more onto the right shoulder, a little more onto the side of the face. Just kind of squaring the hips a little bit better here, sending the left hip back and the right hip forward. 2 more breaths here, wherever we like to have that hand, wherever we need. And bringing the left hand underneath the left shoulder, or roughly in that area. Let's press into the left hand, reach the right arm up to the sky 1 last time. And exhale to plant the right hand beside the left. Taking a moment again to create our soft gaze, our curiosity gaze. Inhale to reach the left arm up toward the sky, still looking down between where the thumbs were. And exhale to scoop that left hand past the right wrist, having a little rest on the left shoulder. Pressing into the right palm this time. Inhale as we reach the left arm up. Have a look at the left fingertips this time. We're going to intently watch those left fingertips as they scoop past the right wrist, extend out toward the ground. Inhale, watch those left fingertips as they come back up toward the sky. Exhale, scooping past the right wrist. 1 more time. Inhale, press into the right hand, watch the left fingertips. Exhale, watching those fingers as they extend and sweep past, coming onto the left shoulder. Extending the right hand maybe toward the front edge of the mat if that feels comfy, or extending the arm up toward the sky, maybe wrapping it around toward the left thigh if that's available for you. Starting to focus on where our hips are, so sending the right hip forward and the left hip back. So the right hip back and the left hip forward, that's it. The right hip back and the left hip forward. Maybe placing the right hand down so that we can focus a little more on squaring those hips. Kind of intensifying the hip crease on the right side a little bit more than the left. So we notice our weight is sort of tugging it down toward the right. So we're trying to bring the left hip forward. And the right hip back. Inhale, bring the right hand underneath the right shoulder, close to it. And then bring that left arm up toward the sky 1 last time. Exhale, placing it down toward the ground, right beside our right hand. And coming into our very first downward dog. So take your time here, find yourself in all fours, tuck the toes, and then just go ahead and start to lengthen the legs. Send the hips up and back, pressing into those palms, pressing backward. So we can feel some length in the backs of the legs. Maybe taking our dog for just a little bit of a walk, a little bit of a sway side to side. Pedaling into those heels, maybe finding stretch in our toes, lifting the heels up off the ground, bending the knees, swaying the hips. Maybe pressing the ground away with the hands and just simply wagging the tail side to side with our straight legs. Noticing any little stretches that happen in between. And then just working nice and slowly through a vinyasa flow to kind of flush out any stagnancy in the body before we begin to restore the body from our strengthening. So let's inhale, come forward to our plank, press into the ground, kind of open up the space between the shoulder blades, really tucking in the low portion of the belly. Let's spend a full breath here. Press the ground away. Bring the sternum, the center of the chest, right up into the body. Press through those toes. Inhale again here. Exhale, let those shoulders lean forward like we did before in that small exercise. Bend the elbows when you need to come down to the belly. Untuck the toes, press into the tops of the feet. Let the heels roll out as you press all the way into all the tops of the feet. So the outside, the inside, the middle. And then bring that mat toward yourself. So pull the mat toward you, press into the tops of the feet, lift the chin and the chest, coming into cobra. Exhale as you tuck the chin in toward the chest, bring the forehead toward the earth. And then again, inhale, pull the mat toward you, press into the tops of the feet, lift the chin and chest into cobra. Exhale as we lower back down. Inhale to tuck our toes, and exhale to come back into tabletop, so coming up into all fours. Bringing the knees under the hips and the wrists into the shoulders if they aren't already. Tucking the toes. Inhaling, sending our tail up toward the sky. Let the belly drop. Lift the heart forward. Inhale. Exhale as you tuck the tail in, rounding the spine. Tuck the chin in toward the chest. Into your cat. Inhale, send the tail up. Drop the belly. Pull the mat toward you. Lift the heart. Exhale to round back in. Just going through a few rounds of your cat-cow shape. Noticing the waves of the spine, noticing maybe those little sticky spots. Squeezing into the areas that feel nice to open up, maybe flushing some fresh blood into that space. Noticing every little portion of the spine, the base of the spine, the low back, the mid back, the upper back, and even the neck. And then coming back to a neutral shape here, making sure a blanket is handy. Let's bring our blanket, if we've got one. If we don't, that's totally okay too. But just kind of playing around and noticing. Let's bring our blanket to the left side of the mat. We'll bring ourselves down to our bellies. So however you like to get there, coming down onto the belly. Let's bring our hands, our forearms just underneath the chin. Hopefully you can, I don't mess up this microphone too much. We can bring our chin to the backs of the hands, or we can come up to a Sphinx shape. So we can come up to our elbows, bringing the elbows underneath the shoulders. We'll untuck the toes and just take a moment in either that relaxed shape, so a little bit lower, or coming up onto our elbows. And just letting our low back relax. If we're on the elbows, make sure we press slightly into the elbows so that we have a longer neck. Let our shoulders release, low back relax. Maybe a little wiggle of the hips, adjustment of the feet. Notice how you're feeling here. And then if we're down on the backs of our hands or our forearms, let's come on up to our elbows, up to our Sphinx shape. Bringing our right forearm parallel to the mat and kind of snuggling the forearm closer to the chest so that we can press into the elbow and the palm and keep the chest lifted. Pressing our left palm just underneath the shoulder, bending our left knee so we can bring it alongside the mat. So if we don't have a blanket, it'll simply look like this. So we're opening up the hip here. If we do have a blanket and we like it underneath the knee, feel free to bring it just underneath. Like so, and then we'll allow ourselves to sink down to the belly. So coming down to the backs of the hands or onto our faces, but the backs of the hands might be a little bit nicer to keep yourself up a little bit higher. And then we're just going to sink down for a few moments here. Really letting your hips sink super heavy in this shape. In through the nose and out through the nose. Softening through the lower half of the body, through the belly, through the hips. And allow just a few moments of silence and stillness here. Keep breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Notice all it takes and the effort it takes to let go. To truly melt and release. Feeling softer and softer with each breath. Each exhale, an opportunity to release a little deeper. Taking as much time as you need. Bringing ourselves back into our Sphinx Pose, back onto our elbows. Bringing the elbows underneath the shoulders. And then maybe starting to press the ground away from you with those hands to lift the chest up slightly, to find maybe a little more stretch. Taking a breath here, maybe staying low. But just one more breath. And then sinking back down here. Let's go ahead and reset ourselves. Extending the left leg along our side, meeting the right leg. And then we'll switch. So maybe the blanket, or maybe we're not using a blanket, but if we are, bringing it to the right side of the body just so we're prepared here. If we'd like to come back down to the tops of the hands and kind of wiggle the hips and stuff, take your time. If you'd like to come into Sphinx shape, reset, press into the elbows to lift the heart, lengthening out to the base of the neck, maybe wiggle the hips a little bit. And then knowing what we're doing next, so bringing the left forearm parallel to the top of the mat, or parallel with the edge of the mat, bringing the forearm closer to your chest so that we can press into the forearm and the palm and lift the heart. As we transfer ourselves a little bit over toward the left to bring the right knee along our side. So again, we kind of know what it looks like, sort of like if we're a tree that's faced downward. So bringing that knee alongside the body. And the knee can be downward, it can be up higher, it's totally up to you and what you need here. And just noticing what you need before settling down, noticing if you need some support underneath the knee, if it's a little bit of a hard surface. And then slowly sinking down to the belly. And again, finding some support for yourself, maybe on tops of the hands or the forearms, maybe all the way down to the chest if that's where you're at. Maybe we stay up in the Sphinx shape and it feels quite nice here. So it's absolutely up to you in what shape you'd like or what shape you need. Just kind of making sure that we balance on both sides. So if you did this on one side, we'll do it on the other. If you went a little lower, we'll bring ourselves lower to the other side as well. So in through the nose and out through the nose. Bring myself up a little higher so we can hear me on the microphone. Let's use the breath. Let the breath travel through the hips. Allow the exhale to soften the hips, soften the low back, soften the leg. And just enjoy some release and some restoration in the body, calming the nerves. Giving ourselves a little more love, a little more time and patience. And then we'll spend a few silent moments like we did on the other side, on this side as well. I'll bring you back in a few breaths. melting into the earth. Finding a stretch without doing much. And just a few more breaths here, in our own perfect rhythm, our own perfect space and time. Noticing our natural rhythms, our natural resources in the body. And when we feel ready, let's come back up to our forearms, coming back into a Sphinx shape, finding just a little more stretch in the inside of the right hip. And if here is where we stay, here is perfect. If we'd like to press down with the hands and press them away, just to open up a little bit more, allowing the low back to be heavy. Curve, the natural curves of the spine to be present, and embracing those shapes. And exhale, coming back down to the forearms. Let's just go ahead and transfer our weight over to the left side so that we can bring the right leg back in line with our left, moving our props away, moving our blankets away, and then just coming back to our Sphinx shape. Pressing into the tops of the feet, press down with the elbows, and start to pull the mat toward you, lifting the heart forward. Still pressing slightly, gently into the tops of the feet to support our low back. Opening up our hands, so pointing our middle finger to the top corners of the mat. Pressing away from yourself, lifting the heart up into the tops of the feet. Heart nice and lifted, coming into just another little variation of our gentle back bend. One more nice deep breath here. Press away from yourself and exhale, coming back down to the elbows. Bring those hands back in and we'll walk those hands underneath the shoulders, tucking our toes and coming up to a tabletop shape. Revisiting our cat-cow once more, tucking those toes, inhaling to lift the tail, to drop the belly, to lift the heart forward. Exhale to round. Sending the center of the spine up toward the sky, tucking the chin into the chest. Inhale to lift the tail, drop the belly, lift forward, reach the gaze. Exhale to round back in, curving the spine. One more. Inhale to reach the heart, to reach the tail up. And one more to curve ourselves back down. Swinging our lower halves of the legs toward the side so we can come back to our bums, back to our seated shape. Let's take a moment to get ourselves nice and comfortable for our Shavasana. So if you do have lots of props available to you right now, feel free to set it up in any way you like, maybe a reclined sort of shape, maybe underneath the thighs. If you have extra blankets and you're in your living room, or you can run to your bedroom right now, grab a whole bunch of them, and we'll just set up a whole bunch of pillows underneath the knees, underneath the hips. If we'd like to just lay back nice and simply, or if we just have our blanket available to ourselves, what we can do is create a few really yummy postures. So we could create our own bolster, rolling our blanket. If we'd like to have a nice open chest, we can bring the wrapped up or the rolled up homemade bolster underneath the shoulder blades, opening up the arms, opening up the chest, sending the legs outward. So if that feels really nice for you, feel free to find your way into a nice gentle upper back bend. So the arms kind of gently release on either side of our homemade bolster. So if this is what you need and what feels nice for you, if the low back's a little bit tender, feel free to bend the knees, and again, just give yourself some support. Or we could take our homemade bolster and we could bring it down to the low back, placing it underneath our low spine or underneath the hips, just the top of the hips. And then allow our hips to kind of roll downward and fall downward. This might feel really nice for a little bit of low back support. Make those feet nice and wide, let those toes fall apart. And then maybe the arms out to cactus shape or to a T shape feels fitting for you, or maybe hands on your belly and on your heart space feel nice. So just take another couple moments, another couple breaths to figure out where we are, what we need. Stretching out into whatever shape feels supported and feels lovely and comfortable. Takes care of some of that chattering body. And if this isn't right for you, pause the video and rearrange yourself. Or keep rearranging yourself because I can't see what you're doing. And just enjoy it. Any kind of support. Close the eyes. Find your breath. In through the nose and out through the nose. Giving ourselves a little bit of strengthening through the breath. Strengthening our breathing muscles, our diaphragm, all the muscles in the side body. And give ourselves this time to release, to restore, and to integrate the benefits of our practice. And I'll leave you here for a few moments of silence, and I promise I'll bring you back when it's time to come back. Slowly, just bringing awareness to our breath, drawing in conscious breath, using the breath as a scan through the body. Have a look at yourself, have a look at your insides, inside your thoughts, inside your body. And staying exactly where we are, and just noticing why our body chose this shape, the things about it that we really like, the things about the shape that are giving us exactly what we need, and gently reminding ourselves we are exactly where we need to be. And then just starting to gently touch the tips of our fingers with our thumb, dragging our thumb across those fingertips one at a time. And stretching the hands, making fists and opening the fingers, and doing the same with the toes, making little fists and opening the toes. Let's reach our arms alongside the ears, point our toes in the opposite direction, and take a really big stretch, opening up that low belly and that soft part of the belly. And then as we exhale, bringing the knees in toward the chest, roll over to the right side, remove the props if you need to, if they're in your way. Just taking a breath here. Being gentle with yourself. Lengthening out the left leg, pressing into the left palm, coming back up into a seated shape, a nice easeful seat. If you do like the little bit of blanket underneath the tail, feel free to set yourself up there. But just taking a moment to close your eyes and to sit with your practice. Placing one of your hands on your heart space and one on your belly space. Noticing our connection to the earth through our sit bones. Maybe feeling as if we could sit a little taller, a little easier. Let's inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. My heart is at ease, knowing what's meant for me will not pass me by, and what passes me by was not meant for me. Inhale our arms up toward the sky, big sun breath to close our practice. Hands through the center of the chest. Thank yourself for practicing yoga. Namaste.